So for the longest time, I've always wondered this, like, why are extremely powerful people so secretive? I mean, how do multimillionaires and especially billionaires think? And I've always wondered, like, why is it that billionaires don't come out with these get rich products, and why you rarely see interviews with them? And I mean, all the interviews that you do see with these guys are ones where they're talking about their own business. So they don't talk about success or anything like that. They're talking about their own freaking business. And I mean, if it's Mark Zuckerberg, he only talks about like the future of Facebook. If it's Bill Gates, then he only talks about curing all types of viruses and philanthropy. If it's Elon Musk, he only talks about like where he envisions the future of solar panels and electric cars and all that stuff. And you never really see them talk about here's how to be successful, like here's how I made all my money or anything like that. And of course, you see like small tidbits here and there, and you just see these small tidbits in interviews where they say little things like a sentence or two. But one thing that you'll notice is that extremely powerful people and extremely successful people are very, very secretive with how they think and what they do. Peter Thiel is one of the founders of PayPal along with Elon Musk. And in his book, in Peter Thiel's book, he says a couple things actually, which I found really interesting. And one thing that he says is every great business is built around a secret that's hidden from the outside. And another thing that he says is, which literally relates directly to this, he says, unless you have perfectly conventional beliefs, it is rarely a good idea to tell everybody everything that you know. So who do you tell? Whoever you need to and no more. And I thought that was interesting because, I mean, if you also read the book, The Facebook Effect, which talks about Mark Zuckerberg and his come up and everything, one thing that keeps coming up in the book, one thing that people keep talking about Mark Zuckerberg and saying what they know about Zuckerberg, people who worked with him, all this stuff, one thing that keeps coming up is that people say you never know what he's thinking. Like he's just really quiet. You never know what this dude is thinking. And you also hear the same thing about Bill Gates and stories about Bill Gates. And Bill Gates was very quiet, very deliberate, and he rarely revealed what he was thinking. And you got to ask yourself, like, why? Why is it that these guys rarely reveal what they're thinking when they're the ones who can come out with all this stuff? Here's how you become successful. So why is it? Why is it that people who can most help others in business and in life are the ones who are the most quiet about it? Well, here's what happens. Psychologically, here's what happens. Extremely powerful people hold back because it's rarely an advantage to reveal what you're thinking. It's rarely an advantage. I mean, in business, you're in this ultimate competition, like the greatest of the greatest freaking competitions. And imagine you're playing a chess game. But before you move, you're playing a chess game, and before you move your pieces, or when you're moving your pieces, you tell your opponent everything that you're thinking of. I mean, you're just walking through your strategy. You tell them that, oh, you know what? I'm going to move my pawn over here. And then after I move my pawn here, I think he's going to do this. And then after he does this, I'm going to do this and so on. You're like talking out loud. You're just revealing all this stuff that you're thinking. There's literally no benefit in telling your opponent what you're going to do because you're going to get crushed. And that's how it is with business. The most competitive entrepreneurs, aka the billionaires, don't want competitors to use their own strategies against them. And that's just one of the reasons why it's really good to stay quiet. And as Peter Thiel said, unless you have perfectly conventional beliefs, it's best to stay quiet because to grow a massive empire, you have to think in ways that other people don't. So your thoughts are, they're just ridiculous. They're just way out there. I mean, you got to think in ways that other people aren't thinking of. And when people don't agree with your thoughts, they don't agree with your opinions and all this stuff, what do? Well, they argue with you. I mean, they're like, oh, he's unethical. Oh, they try to undermine you. They say all this stuff and they do everything they can to stop you. So you just learn to shut up and you learn not to tell people what you're really thinking because there's no use in making things harder for yourself than what they should be. Smart people understand how useless it is to argue with someone. So They found that when you argue with someone, neither side changes their opinion. I mean, you're just arguing. Nobody's changing their opinion. So they just don't even want to waste their time arguing at all. They just say, you know what? Just keep believing what you believe. I mean, imagine you're trying to argue with someone who doesn't believe in gravity. That's what it feels like with billionaires, with top-notch entrepreneurs. It's like I'm trying to argue with you about gravity. You say, oh, gravity doesn't exist. I say it does. I'm like, okay, gravity exists, and you say it doesn't. And then you go back and forth with this person. We're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And this person keeps saying gravity doesn't exist. I'm like, what the heck? What's wrong with this person? And so smart people, they don't even argue this in the first place. And they don't argue because they know they're right. 100%. They're like, I know I'm right. There's no reason to argue. They don't argue because they would rather spend their time doing something else. So instead, they just let you believe what you want to believe. And then, I mean, if you go jump off a cliff, they'll just say like, see, told you so. Gravity does exist. And you don't need to argue with someone when what you're saying is true and what you believe is true. And when you're building a business, you believe your thoughts are 100% true. I mean, you just believe it, especially at that level. You're like practically delusional. So you just keep things to yourself and you don't feel like debating it with other people. Holding back is a huge advantage in business. And there's always something that someone is holding back, either intentionally because they see it as a disadvantage to let you know how they think, or unintentionally because there's just not enough time in the day to teach you everything that they know. So there's always something that someone is holding back. I mean, if you meet Mark Zuckerberg in an elevator, even if he wanted to tell you all the secrets he knows about building a business, about building a massive empire, even if he wanted to tell you everything imaginable, he just doesn't have time to tell you everything. So you need to figure out what someone is holding back so you can have more information to implement in your business. And there's this concept called the black swan, and a black swan is an unpredictable or unforeseen event. It's something that you literally did not know existed, so you couldn't have even asked the question to get an answer. I mean, it's something you just didn't know was there, so you literally couldn't even ask the question. It's an unknown unknown. And everyone has a black swan inside of them. Everyone has some type of information that they're holding on to that they're not revealing to the world. Something about themselves, something about their business, something about something that if you knew, it would completely change everything forever. And extremely powerful people have multiple black swans. They hold back because they really don't know you. I mean, they just don't know you. So they tend to hold back, and they don't know what your intentions are. So they tend to stay quiet until you reveal more information about yourself. They don't know if you're trying to steal from them. They don't know if you're secretly recording them. They just don't know you. So they don't reveal anything to you. Don't take anything at face value. Understand that people are constantly, always holding back from you, and you need to get inside of their heads to figure out what they know, because you can use information. The greatest business minds don't reveal what they're thinking. So you have to ask yourself, when should you reveal your thoughts and when should you hold back?